So yesterday, I think I set off a little bit of a firestorm when I made the post about GM getting rid of a bunch of people. I think the cost was put at $2 billion. And I had made some comments around EV and SDV and the relationship between the two. But what I want everybody to understand is that EV is not going to be profitable anytime soon. And the whole challenge with EV is that you've got government organizations pushing for it, you've got people pushing for it. And in reality, there's only one company that is currently profitable at any significant level in EV, and that's Tesla. They're profitable because they've adopted an SDV architecture for their vehicles. And I'm not even going to say it's 100% SDV, but it's definitely much better than what everybody else is doing. If you look at the market right now, and I put a graphic together. If you look at the EV market right now, I think we're looking at maybe 10% of the market being EV. And I've seen different projections in the 2030, 2040, 2050. I'm going to be very generous here. And I'm going to say, well, let's pretend that the EV market gets to be 50% by 2030. Highly unlikely, but let's just go ahead and put it at that. What you've got here is a situation where you have the major players right now who are producing ICE vehicles, these OEMs, and they are making a lot of money, a fair amount of money on their vehicles, especially when you look at things like trucks. That's where they make a ton of their money, and that's what Americans buy. In other countries, it's different vehicles. In Europe, it could be station wagons, whatever. But the reality is in the United States, that's what I'm looking at, most of the buyers are buying trucks. It's a very hefty profit margin on those trucks. We also know that technology to deliver EV trucks is just not there because when you go to tow something with that EV truck, the battery dies pretty instantly. It's a very heavy vehicle, and it's also very expensive. So again, back to my point. The only company really making a lot of money right now is Tesla on their EVs. They've got probably a 30% profit margin. Other companies that are trying to shift and become EV players, traditional OEMs, are making maybe $2,000-$3,000 on a vehicle, if that's even possible. They're just not making the money. Additionally, they have to invest a tremendous amount of money to lift and shift because they are not greenfield. So they have a very large portion of the market right now for ICE, and there just aren't that many players. I could probably go through and name them in my head fairly quickly. So there's a large market. There is a large profit margin. There is a small number of EV market at the current time, or what's actually being sold as EV. There are very few OEMs delivering EVs in mass. And if you look at Tesla, they're one of the biggies. If you look at a company like Rivian that has pinned their entire strategy on EV as well, they're in the toilet right now. You can go buy their stock for $15 a share, and it'll probably go even lower. And they've issued bonds, which are, to me, pretty much junk, because you may not ever get your money back. Let's just move to 2030 and pretend that 50% of the market has now transitioned to EV. At this point, there is a much lower barrier to entry. It is much easier to produce an EV than it is to produce a traditional vehicle. You don't have to get into engine research. The thing doesn't have to be thoroughly tested all the way through. You can buy components off the shelf from China, from wherever. You can put things together. Enthusiasts are putting together EVs in their garage. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but it's a lot easier. You see the companies that have popped up overnight. Now we have challengers coming from Dubai. We have challengers from Vietnam. We have challengers from anywhere you put a little pin on the map. And so what's happening is that the number of OEMs working in the ICE space, because so many of them have said they want to get out of ICE, are going to be leaving, while the number of OEMs that are actually working in ICE is going to drop. And that market, and again, I'm being extremely generous, but saying that there's still 50% of the market left, or 40 or something, whatever you want to call it, they're going to still be able to produce those vehicles and drive very high profit margins. In fact, their profit margins may be higher because they're not putting additional money into development, and they can keep selling what they've got on the shelf, right? Bananas on the cart. So they may actually make more money at the end of the day versus all of these new OEMs that have come on the scene because of the lower barrier to entry. They're going to be fighting for maybe, say, half the market, and you're just not going to make the money you think you're going to make. Tesla is probably going to keep making the money because they have a very big lead there. They might drop or it might equalize a little bit, The OEMs might be able to bring their profit up a little bit after they cut, thousands and thousands of people and go through billions of dollars in development and losses. But this is the market, the reality of where you're going. So if you think EV is a profitable venture right now, you're wrong. I'm not saying that we're not going to EV. I'm not saying we won't get there in 5 years, 10 years. The technology won't be there, and that it won't be the dominant way you produce a vehicle. But what I'm saying is that the short-term and midterm economics are not there. And you need to take off your technology hat if you're looking at this purely through the lenses of technology and saying, it's great stuff, it's great for the environment. You can do all of that, but the reality is these companies are going to go through a severe time of just beatings. GM, Ford, Stellantis, you name it, they're going to be dumping tons of money into this stuff. They don't really know how to monetize it. They think they're going to monetize the data. They're not really sure how to do that. They all want to build their own systems, MBOS, VWOS. They all think they're going to build their own systems. They're investing a ton of money in this, and it really doesn't get them anywhere. Software-defined vehicle is incredibly important for monetization, flexibility of the vehicle, next generation vehicle design moving forward. But as many have pointed out, and I will agree, you don't need SDV to do EV. However, having SDV architecture in order to build your EV lets you do it a lot more efficiently, a lot cheaper, and it lets you monetize a hell of a lot faster. So these are kind of my thoughts around this. I'm welcome to any contrary opinions always, but I felt like I wanted to record this because this will be going into my AutoEDGE architecture as a reason that we want to move to SDV, and that reason is not EV. That reason is far many other reasons other than EV. EV is just kind of a distraction at this point. So I'd love to get your comments on this. Let me know what you think. And, I look forward to what you got to share with me here.